Thank you very much. Somebody asked a question about, in fact, the minister's response was why, Africa continues to elect leaders that oppress them. And I just thought, solely in his absence, I must respond. It seems like there's a thinking in the ANC that African elections are actually independent. There's some illusion that elections in this continent are independent. I mean, it's an illusion to assume that Uganda is going to vote out Museveni, and Museveni is going to allow it, and then is going to move out of the State House, and then the young singer is going to, him and his family are going to enter the State House, and then he's going to, to face charges of all he has done in Uganda in the last almost 40 years. That's an illusion. The symposium that elections happen to free Africans and elections are credible, independent, because overseers say that they are, is an illusion. So one of the facts that we talk about human rights is the dignity of elections, is the fairness of elections. And I don't think that's an area we've really gone into. One of the reasons we're going to salvage this continent is to look at how to ensure credible electioneering. They are not credible in two ways because of the social impact of food parcels going into the old villages and sort of erupting the minds of old citizens to make them believe that you're going to do this every day for the next 5 years. And the second illusion is that the assumption that if you make an X on the ballot and you have many, many X's, that person that you elected will actually lead that country. It never ever happens. If that was the reality, Africa would be a different place. So I don't know where the ANC's mind is on elections, or rigged elections for that matter. But I think it's a discussion that we must open because it's for human rights. I want to make this point about migration before I close. Migration is not just an African phenomenon. And we need to adapt our language. Part of my space and work, of course, is narratives and language. There's something wrong with the descriptions that we use to define African politics. We call it, porous border migrations and foreign nationals or illegal nationals or where's coming into the country. Migration is not a new thing to Africa. Right now, as we speak, people are migrating from Ukraine to Belarus. They've always been. From Belarus to Poland, from Russia to Poland and to Belarus. Many of them without passports, but they understand that there's a war and there's an event. From Morocco, between that belt called the Belt of Gibraltar, people are swimming and dying over the water because they want to go to Spain. For a long time living in Botswana, people would just see your aunt across the fence. She lives over there. To assume that a child who goes and buys bread in Musina across the border or across the fence from Zimbabwe to go and buy bread in Musina and goes back home has committed an atrocious crime that cannot be the reality. So we need to find African solutions to African problems. Our issue is that we've absorbed this Roman Dutch law and whatever the foreign NATO encyclopedia says, we adopt that as law and part of our language and part of our curricula. If I had time, I'd discuss, moderator, about even the themes and the language we use when we talk about land grabs. Somebody has just, it's a land grab, as if you've gone and you've taken it illegally. Yes, there are legal mechanisms, but people need to live. Languages such as, enforced or illegal mining. So for Lonmin, it's okay, go into that area because you've got the rights given by government. When the miners protest, gun 34 of them down, they are dead. We call it a massacre, 16 August 2012, and Lonmin continues to mine. But if another African is found and they say, I found coal or I found a mineral, then it's illegal mining But for a London mining, it's absolutely correct. We need to look at the nuances and languages that we use in trying to advocate African challenges. How people cross borders, what we refer to it, you know, a strenuous border control. In the Ukraine, they don't call it strenuous border control. They didn't call them foreign nationals. But you know what was interesting? Is that when the Ukraine people were leaving because of the war, it was Ukraine is first and Africans last. It means that in their country, they still consider Africans as less people, you know, children of a lesser God. But you come to Africa, we use the same mathematics to define our own people who are 2 meters away on the other side, and both here and both there. My comrade is talking about Mkhize there, and somebody saying this Mkhize is a foreigner. But this Mkhize almost became the president's brother if Zweli Mkhize had won. If Zweli Mkhize had won, he would have a brother who was a president. He would live better in this country. You know, Mabenas are related to us. So I think we need to assess our language and a lot of our literature on the references we use, because we adopt foreign language, we adopt foreign encyclopedia and foreign mathematics, and that becomes a challenge. We can't use NATO set laws to define African solutions. We must call for African solutions to African challenges.